So I work a little bit differently with this work than other people in the sense that the facilitators had a conversation with the client prior to being here. Some facilitators don't do that and they have the conversation in front of everybody about what the person wants to look at. And I actually find that, one, people don't want to say about their whole life and what's going on for them in front of people they don't know. And also, it's not a head process, it's a feeling process. And when we get to hear certain information, we can kind of get a bit stuck in our head, and so we've kind of bypassed that part of it. We're going to have 3 constellations today, and different people are going to come sit in this chair at some point or another, the clients. And they may ask you to represent. And what that means is they might ask, depending on what they were looking at, they might ask you to represent them, or their mum, or their dad, or their money, or their business, or their child, or their issue, or the block, or who knows, depends what the different situation is that they're going to ask you to represent. So if they ask you to represent, they might say something like, you know, Caroline, will you represent me? And, you know, Helen, will you represent my mum? And Valiant, would you represent my dad? Something like that. You don't know any other information other than you're representing this, that, or the other thing for them. And when you're asked to represent, all you need to do is just notice what you feel. This is the kind of work that's doesn't really make sense in our head. It's really a feeling process. So, and basically everyone can do it because you all feel. We're at the feeling level, we're all the same. We all feel emotions. We feel happiness, sadness, grief, loss. We all feel, so everyone can do this work. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It'll make sense to the other person. And it may not even make sense in this moment. And then later on they'll go, now I know what that was about. Because when we finish a constellation in this session, this kind of setting, it doesn't finish. We're like constantly an evolving being. We're constantly taking layers off this kind of onion skin, which is life. So it's constant. It may not make sense now, but it may make sense in the next moment. So just hear the feedback. So if you're representing at any time for another person and the feeling is, I actually don't feel anything, that's really important information, because sometimes it's not safe to feel. So we numb ourselves out. There's lots of addictions and lots of things like that, whether that be work addiction or alcohol or drugs or anything, that they're often coping mechanisms because it's too much to feel. So we want that important information because we want to then know when all of a sudden feeling comes back, even if it's just a tingle in the toe, even if it's just like a little bit of buzzing in my, ankle, that's feeling. And it means something's shifted. That now all of a sudden this person can start to feel again when before they couldn't. Like that's really rich information that we want to know. So if you are ever representing for any of the clients that come up here, don't make anything up. It doesn't need to make any sense to you. Just say what you feel. And if it's, if it doesn't kind of land with the person or whatever, that's okay. No harm. And if it does, something will be able to shift and open and move.